Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this press briefing by Ambassador Ma Zhaoxu on the Chinese presidency of the Security Council in November. Today, Ambassador Ma will first give you an introduction on the Security Council's work this month, and then take your questions. Since we only have about 40 minutes, so please, it will be very appreciated if you could focus your questions on the Security Council. So now I give the floor to Ambassador Ma, please.
Thank you very much. Sorry for being late. I was with the members over there, and many questions and comments from the member states of the nations, you could imagine. And so I'm very glad to be here with you and to give a briefing about the work of the Council in November, and I would like to take questions from all of you. As you know, we are going to have a very busy month in November. We are going to have more than 20 meetings to be held in this month, and we are going to touch upon many issues on the agenda. You have with you the POW, the Program of Work, in your hand. That was just now adopted by the Council, so that will provide a very good material for you to follow the work of the Council in November. So it's a very full schedule. Almost every day you have work to do. And so as presidency, I'll be very busy, and I'll also keep you busy, you know, so we can work together to ensure the work of the Security Council could go forward and to serve better the maintenance of the international peace and security. Thank you very much for coming again. And I would also like to say that the media's participation of the work of the Security Council is of vital importance for the improvement of work and also for the fulfillment of the duty of the Security Council. Let me give you an overview of the Council's work of this month very briefly. And I start from the open debate. This month we are going to hold two open debates. One is on 9th, is on your POW. The theme will be strengthening the multilateralism and the role of the United Nations to maintain peace and security in the world. And the second will be on 20th, with the focus on peace and security in Africa, especially the peacekeeping operations in Africa. So those are the two major events during the month, to open debate. Let me give you some background on those open debate. A few words on the first one. More than 7 decades ago, the international community established a collective security mechanism with the UN at its core. So it is based on the purposes and principles of the UN Charter and the vision and practice of multilateralism. Thanks to that, the world has maintained peace in general in the past many years. However, the recent years have witnessed interwoven traditional and non-traditional security threats and prolonged regional conflicts. So we are facing severe challenges in the international security situation. At the same time, international rules and multilateral mechanisms are being undermined. So the world situation is filled with uncertainties and destabilizing factors. Under the UN Charter, the Security Council has the primary responsibility of maintaining international peace and security. The Council, in fulfilling its duty, must play a leading role in strengthening multilateralism and the collective security mechanism. In light of the new problems and new challenges we are facing, we believe it is important that the United Nations member states jointly uphold the purposes and principles of the UN Charter. We need to find ways and means to strengthen multilateralism and the role of the United Nations, to consolidate the collective security mechanism, and increase cooperation between the United Nations and regional organizations. So it is upon the member states to resolve disputes peacefully through dialogue and effectively address global and regional security challenges in order to build a community with a shared future for mankind. So I believe the open debate on 9th will provide a platform for the member states to further their discussion and consideration of this issue. As you know, during the high-level week of this General Assembly, more than 100 countries, heads of states and governments, they talk about the issue of multilateralism, and they stated their support to the strengthening of multilateralism and the United Nations. So this is an opportunity for member states to further their discussion on this one, especially focus on the role of the United Nations in maintenance of international peace and security. The second open debate is on peace and security of Africa. As you know, this year marks the 70th anniversary of UN peacekeeping. Over the past 70 years, Africa has been a major partner for the United Nations peacekeeping operations. Among the leading troop contributors, more than half are African countries. And the 5 biggest UN peacekeeping operations are in Africa. Peacekeeping operations in Africa and those of the United Nations are mutually supportive and complementary, and together serve as effective tools for maintaining peace and security in Africa. So against the current situation, against the challenges, Africa needs the support of the international community in this effort to uphold peace and security. The United Nations also needs to strengthen cooperation with AU and African countries in maintenance of international and regional peace and security. So the cooperation and collaboration is very important for both. So we hope that what we do in November will help to set the stage and create a sound atmosphere to further discussion on this topic by the member states. We hope that this will lead to more attention and input from the international community to strengthen the capacity building of the AU and African countries in safeguarding peace and security in Africa. I have to mention that it is the tradition of Chinese presidency to pick up the issue concerning peace and security in Africa. Almost during every presidency of China, we hold the open debate on concrete issues concerning peace and security in Africa. This reflects China's commitment to the peace and security in this continent, and China's commitment to support the efforts made by AU and African countries in this regard. This is also the common position of the Council members. After talking about something like the open debate, I would like to give you some briefs about the agenda items. As I mentioned, this month we are going to hold more than 20 meetings, and we will take up issues like Libya, Syria, Lebanon, Burundi, Iraq, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Lebanon, Kosovo, Yemen, among others. And the Council will also discuss the report by Somalia and Eritrea Sanctions Committee and the work of G5 Sahel Joint Force and UN Peacekeeping Police. Let me highlight some major points. On Libya, the Council follows the situation of Libya closely and supports all efforts of stabilizing the situation and promoting a political settlement. We support the implementation of the UN action plan put forward by a special representative of the Secretary General and in stepping up the mediation efforts. We hold that despite the challenges facing Libya, including a fragile security situation, rampant terrorist activities, and the issue of refugees and migrants, Libya continues to achieve difficult but steady progress in political transition. So the Council will increase its support and keep to the direction of political settlement. On Syria, we are going to have opportunity to discuss the Syrian issue in 3 occasions, one on chemical weapons, one on the political process, one on the humanitarian situation. And so, as you know, Syria is an important issue on the Council's agenda. It has major impact on the regional situation. The situation in Syria is at a critical juncture with an important political settlement opportunity. So the Council members support the political settlement of the Syrian issue and support the United Nations as the main mediation channel and the work of the Special Envoy, de Mistura. And based on relevant resolutions such as 2254, the Council will continue to promote dialogue and negotiation among the parties in Syria to reduce conflicts and find a solution acceptable to all. The priority now is the establishment of Syrian Constitutional Committee. All the members hope that the relevant parties will implement the Memorandum of Stabilization of the situation in Idlib, the escalation area, by Russia and Turkey, and create favorable conditions for Syrian political process. On Somalia and the Eritrea Sanctions Committee, as you know, recently the situation in the Horn of Africa has shown positive development. Progress in nation building of Somalia, improvement of relations among regional countries. The Council welcome those positive developments and also encourage countries in the region to increase the dialogue and build mutual understanding and seize the opportunity and the positive momentum to find solutions in good faith. On Bosnia and Herzegovina, to maintain security and stability and promote social and economic development and ethnic harmony in Bosnia and Herzegovina is in common interest of the international community and the countries in the region. We believe the discussion of the Council will make a positive contribution to this end. On UN peacekeeping police, over the past 70 years since its founding, UN peacekeeping has made a tremendous contribution to the maintenance of international peace and security. And police is an important component of the overall UN peacekeeping operations. With more complex deployment circumstances and mandates in recent years, UN peacekeeping police is shouldering a more important role. The Security Council will be briefed by the peacekeeping police commissioners, and we'll have a discussion on the issue and to consider how to improve the peacekeeping police operations so that the operation could contribute more to international peace and security. On Iraq and UNAMI, the Council will hear briefing by Mr. Kubis on November 13th, and the Council appreciate for the efforts Mr. Kubis has made. And we also welcome Ms. Hennis Plasshardt as the new special representative of Secretary General and head of UNAMI. We believe that Iraq's peace, stability, and reconstruction are at a critical stage. Inclusive political solution is the only way towards lasting peace and security in Iraq. On Kosovo, the Council members hope that the parties concerned will seize the opportunity of resumed dialogue and demonstrate political will, carry out sincere dialogue and implement the agreement they have reached. We hope that AMIC, the European Union Rule of Law Mission in Kosovo, and the K4 will work in close collaboration to play a positive role in achieving a proper settlement of the Kosovo issue. On G5 Sahel Joint Force, the Council will consider this issue, and we believe the security situation in Sahel is severe, with rampant terrorism and transnational organized crimes. The G5 Sahel Joint Force demonstrates the determination of the regional countries in leading the efforts to address the regional security challenges. And the Council welcomed that. And the Council Resolution 2359 and 2391 authorized the MINUSMA to provide logistic support to the force through a technical agreement. Now the joint force is facing financial difficulties. We believe that the international community should provide more support to the efforts of regional countries and regional organizations while respecting the ownership of African countries in addressing African issues. So the briefing on 15th November will provide a platform for the parties to discuss how to support the force and its central. On Yemen, the relaunch of political talks is the shared desire of Yemeni people and the international community, and is fully supported by the Council. The Council members are concerned about the worsening humanitarian crisis in Yemen, and we hope all Council members will remain united and play a constructive role for the political settlement of the Yemeni issue. On the Middle East peace process, the Council members are concerned about the current situation between Palestine and Israel, which is more complex, and the humanitarian situation in Gaza is deteriorating. The Council members will express their views on how to push all relevant parties to continue dialogue and explore ways to resolve this issue. On Lebanon, we hope the Lebanon will form a new government as soon as possible to deliver on guidelines of governance, uphold stability and security, and promote economic development. UNIFIL has played an important role in keeping the operation field calm and the region generally stable. The international community should continue to support Lebanon, help strengthen the capability of Lebanon armed force for Lebanon's stability and security, and ease the pressure on Lebanon in receiving refugees from Syria and Palestine. On Burundi, recently the situation in Burundi is generally calm, and the African regional organizations are still making efforts for a peaceful solution of the political situation in Burundi. We hope the briefing will play a constructive role in promoting lasting peace and sustainable development in Burundi. On South Sudan, the Council will keep a close eye on the situation. And recently, thanks to the mediation efforts of the AU, IGAD, and regional countries, good progress has been made in the political process of South Sudan. The parties of South Sudan have signed the revitalized peace agreement, and this is a critical step to achieve peace and stability in South Sudan. We hope the parties will continue to resolve differences through peaceful means to further promote the political process. And the Security Council will continue to support peace and stability in South Sudan and the mediation efforts made by AU, IGAD, and regional countries. Apart from those hotspot issues I just mentioned, the Council will consider adoption of 6 resolutions on extending mandates for the following forces fighting piracy off the Somali coast. The EU4LC, sanctions on Libya, MINUSCA, Somalia and Eritrea Sanctions Committee Monitoring Group, SEMG, and UNICEF. Apart from the agendas on the POW, China as the presidency, we are going to hold some side events during the presidency. We are planning to organize 2 side events. The first one is the planned visit by the Security Council members to China. And I have the honor to invite my colleagues in the Council to pay a visit to China and to give my colleagues one opportunity to feel China, feel China's development, to feel China's opening up and reform. And also the theme of the visit will be the peacekeeping operations. We will have chance to visit, hopefully to visit the standby peacekeeping forces near Beijing, and so we will have opportunity to exchange with the soldiers, peacekeeping soldiers and officers, and to consider and to discuss how to improve the work of peacekeeping operations, and of course to learn more about China's view in this regard. We are also paying visit to, apart from Beijing, to Shenzhen and Guangzhou, and those are the the cities and forefronts of opening up and reform of China. You know, this year marks the 40th anniversary of opening up and reform of China. So that would be meaningful for us to go to the southern part of China, go to the starting point of the opening up and reform, to have some impression about the development of China in the past 40 years. Another side event, maybe you have noted, will be held on 6th. That will be the performance given by the China People with Disabilities Art Performance Troupe. The troupe is well known all over the world. They have traveled more than 100 countries. They were awarded by the UN agencies. And the idea is that we have this kind of performance for the members of the Council and also members of the nations, including yourself, not only to enjoy the performance of the artists, but also to learn from the people with disabilities in their fight for the international peace and security. So that will be a very big event, and you're welcome to participate in that event. And during the presidency, as our practice, we are going to contribute our part in the enhancement of the working methods of the Security Council. We are going to provide some kind of suggestions for the elements of briefing in meetings and consultations. We'll provide the suggestions to the briefers for them to focus on the issue and to spend the time reasonably and to ensure the efficiency and effectiveness of the Council. So those are basically what I'm going to brief you today, and I believe that during China's presidency, we can count on the support of the member states, count on your support, so we can work together to ensure the smoothness of the work of the Council in November, and also to make contributions to the cause of maintenance of international peace and security. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Ambassador Ma. Now the floor is open to questions, focusing on work of the Security Council. And Jean-Paul, please.
Thank you. Yeah. Oh, Ambassador Ma, congratulations for your presidency, and on behalf of the United Nations Correspondent Association, thank you for this press conference. I have a question that is borderline, but is important to me at least. In November 5th, the Security Council will discuss Middle East, but on the same day, the United States will start new sanctions against Iran and regarding oil to punish them. And China is the major importer of oil from Tehran. You're going to continue to do that after the 5th, or someone else is going to take care of the issue?
Thank you very much. I think that the issue you just mentioned is not on the agenda of the program. So if there's any suggestions from the member or from the member of the Council, as presidency, we'll listen to the ideas and opinions of the members and to work on that issue. So at this stage, I'm not sure. I have no any information about that. And but as the presidency will be open to all kinds of suggestions and advices given by the Council, and we will do our best to coordinate the opinions of the Council members. Thank you very much.
Next question. Michelle from Reuters.
Thank you, Ambassador. Michelle Nichols from Reuters. A question for you on North Korea, which is on the Security Council agenda. Perhaps a question, though, in your national capacity. Last month, North Korea and China and Russia had a meeting in Moscow, and your ministry put out a statement afterwards saying that it's necessary to consider adjusting UN sanctions against North Korea at an appropriate time. Is now the appropriate time? And if not, when is the appropriate time?
Thank you. On the agenda of this month, we have the 17-18 committee, which is related to the sanctions on DPRK. And so the focus of this month's work will focus on the report of the 17-18 committee. We will listen to the report of the chair of the committee on the work of this committee. And as you know, the committee is plays a very important role in implementation process of relevant resolutions. And over the past 3 months, the 17-18 committee actively carried out work in accordance with its mandate, including making new designations and considering the humanitarian exemption requests and outreach activities. So we will listen to the work of the 17-18 committee. This is what I can say in my capacity as the presidency. As for your question about national position of China on the Korean Peninsula, I think it is well known because we have stated our positions on many occasions. And the recent authoritative declaration was made by our State Counsel and Foreign Minister Wang Yi during the open debate of Security Council last month. So I refer you to the statements made by State Counsel and Foreign Minister. What I'm going to say is that China is always committed to the denuclearization on the peninsula. We are committed to the peaceful solution of that issue through consultation and dialogue. We are committed to the peace and security, maintenance of peace and security on the peninsula. And we welcome the inter-Korean and DPRK-US dialogues, and we hope that the outcome of those dialogues could be implemented as soon as possible so as to maintain the peace and security on the peninsula and for a lasting solution of that issue, which is it should be a peaceful, diplomatic, and political. On the issue just mentioned on sanction, I think our Prime Minister has made it very clearly the Security Council resolutions related to the DPRK contain reversible provisions, which clearly provide for adjustments to the sanctions in light of DPRK's compliance. So given the positive developments in the inter-Korean and DPRK-US relations and DPRK's important commitments and actions on denuclearization, some Security Council members, including China, we believe that it is necessary for the Security Council to consider invoking the reversible provisions at an appropriate time. And this complies with the spirit of Security Council resolutions and encourages DPRK and other relevant parties to take bigger steps towards denuclearization. As for what time is the appropriate time, I cannot give an answer at this moment. I think it depends on the development situation and the opinions of the Council members.
Xinhua, please.
Thank you. Xinhua News Agency, Ma Jianguo. Congratulations, Ambassador Ma. My question is that on 20th, we are going to have the Peace and Security in Africa and Peacekeeping in Africa open debate. And what's the link between the early September we have in Beijing, the China-Africa Cooperation Forum, and also at UN here, we pay a lot of attention to South-South cooperation. What's the link between all this? Thank you.
The open debate to be held on 20th is on the peace and security in Africa, and that will be an opportunity for all the members of the United Nations to talk about ways and means to improve our work in that regard. So that will be an open debate, open to all the member states. And I think the international community, including member states of the United Nations, they are very keen to contribute to this process. As for China's contribution to this regard, to this issue, you're right to mention that recently the FOCAC was held in Beijing, and the President Xi Jinping put forward suggestions for 8 major actions, and among 8 major actions, the peace and security in Africa is a very important part of that. So I think China is committed to the maintenance of international security and peace in Africa, and will do whatever we can to help African countries and AU in promoting peace and security in this continent. So I think that this open debate will be very good, not only for the member states, but for China to state our positions and our ideas, and to exchange on this one, and to work together, to cooperate together to push forward the process of peace and stability in this region. So I think that will be very good for all the parties concerned, including China, to contribute to the process.
Next question, please. Linda from NPR, right? Oh, please, yeah. No. Okay, please, yeah. Yeah, Rhonda.
Yeah, and I write for a blog in Germany, but also I have covered for South Korean news at times. And my question is back to the question of working methods and the role of the UN and the Charter. And I wondered if you have looked at and are aware of Article 32 and Section 5 of the Charter, which has to do with inviting a country that's involved in some dispute that the Security Council takes up, and having them be able to be involved in the discussion. They can't vote, but they can be involved in the discussion that the Security Council takes up. Mm-hmm. And this allows for a due process. It allows for us to hear the views of that country. I wondered if you see that as something important to make available in general, and particularly with the DPRK. I know the UN was encouraging them to come to meetings and to speak up, but if they speak up after sanctions are passed, it does no good. This provides them to speak up before the sanctions are passed. So I'm wondering if this is something that you might look at seriously. Lavrov had said this is very important, but on his own he can't get this followed. But I wondered if you can look at it and see and consider it and take it up as part of your working methods work. Thank you.
In my capacity as the presidency, I think the council work in accordance with the UN Charter and the provisional rules of procedures, and those are the Bible of this council. So we'll make sure that the council will follow that and in dealing with the issues you just mentioned. Thank you.
Carol from AFP.
Ambassador Ma, Carol Landry with Agence France Presse.
Nice to meet you.
I wanted to ask you about the decision to take the council to China for the visit. Usually, the council will go to a conflict area to get a, on the ground view of what is going on. Clearly, this is not the case. What is the value of doing this trip? I mean, we've heard some criticism of sort of Security Council tourism on these trips, and I want you to articulate why you think this is worth taking the entire council to see what you're doing on peacekeeping.
Well, you're right. This visit is different from the visit organized by Security Council. So this is not the activity of the council. This is the bilateral one. This is the invitation extended by myself by Chinese government, and the purpose of the visit is very clear. First of all, the council shoulders very heavy, very important responsibility to maintain peace and security in the world. And peacekeeping operation is one of the most important part of our duty. So the visit to China, as I said, the theme will be peacekeeping operations. And China is one of the major contributors to the United Nations peacekeeping operations. And we are attaching more and more importance to the UN peacekeeping operations. We are making more and more contributions in this regard, in both financially and also in terms of human resources. So the visit will provide one opportunity for the council members to have better understanding about China's participation in peacekeeping operations in China, and also to give Chinese officials and militaries an opportunity to exchange with the council members who are shouldering very important responsibility to maintain international peace and security. So that will be two-way traffic. That will be a very, very important opportunity for both to exchange on the peace and security issues, in particular improvement of peacekeeping operations. So this is of vital importance for us to do. Secondly, I think the understanding between the members are so important because the council are dealing with more and more complicated issues. As I said, this month we have more than 20 meetings touch upon many, many issues. So the cooperation and the collaboration among the members are of vital importance for their work for the Security Council. And to improve the understanding and the cooperation, you have many, many ways. We can sit in the council, in the chamber to discuss our meetings. This is one format. You have other formats. I mean, the informal and also discussions and interactions among the members, which is very important. It's getting more and more important for each other to understand each other's position. And you have noticed recently the council is stepping up in exploring new ways and means to improve the interaction and understanding among the members. And it's not the first time that the council members are invited to pay a visit to a member state. And so I think that is the right way for the work of the council, and as well as the improvement of the understanding of the members to the positions of others. But of course, this morning when we discussed this matter together, some of my colleagues, they highly appreciate this idea. They said, we are dealing with international security and peace issues, but to do that better, you have to understand the world. You have to understand the world situation. For example, when the PRC went to go to China, we'll focus on the peacekeeping operations. We'll go to the military, to the peacekeeping forces over there to have exchange specifically on peacekeeping operations, to have the first-hand, impression. We are also to have some visits to the other units, including, including the activities concerning China's development. China is a permanent member of the Security Council. China's development is very important for the international affairs. So I think to give people this kind of impression, that's very good for them to have even better understanding about China's position, China's development, and to think about our work of the Council. So you can establish this kind of connection very easily, and that is very important. And I understand that more and more the diplomacy is developing in terms of format. The substance is very important, to be very honest. But sometimes the format is even more important for people to have better understanding.
Thank you.
Hi, Linda Fasulo, NPR. I have a question regarding Venezuela. Today, President Trump is imposing sanctions against, tough sanctions as they're described, against Venezuela. And I know there are differences on the Council about whether or not the whole topic, the issues, should be brought up on the Council. I was wondering, one, what China's position is on that, and if you thought there was any possibility that Venezuela could come up this month.
I'm here in the capacity of the presidency. What I want to say is that Venezuela issue is not on the agenda, and so there will be, currently, I can say this month we will not deal with this issue in the Council. Thank you.
We're almost running out of time, so last questions. Jim, please.
James Bays from Al Jazeera. You answered the first question saying that the Iran nuclear deal and the sanctions weren't on the agenda, but clearly it's on your watch this month, because on the 5th, these new sanctions are coming into force. And you, for this month, are the guardian of the resolutions of the UN Security Council. And that Iran nuclear deal which the US are introducing unilateral sanctions targeting the oil sector, is enshrined in a Security Council resolution 2231. So as President of the Security Council, do you believe that action that they're taking on the 5th of this month is a breach of the UN Security Council resolution?
I think, again, the issue you just mentioned, I believe is a very important issue. It's an issue of world attention. And also, as presidency, and I believe all the members of the council, they are following that issue very, very closely. And up to now, it's not on the agenda. And up to now, I have not received any suggestions or proposals in that regard. So this is what I can say at this moment.
So in your national capacity, does China believe that introducing unilateral sanctions is a breach of Security Council Resolution 2231?
Our national position has been consistent and clear in this regard. You know that very well. You know, we oppose the unilateral sanctions against any country in the world. Is there something about to hear?
I do think we might spend all afternoon to answer all the questions. So now the last question, and we will keep an open channel, and please come to me for the rest questions. So the last one. Please, yeah.
My name is Masood. I represent Daily Dawn newspaper of Pakistan. Mr. President, congratulations on this assumption of presidency. I'd like to ask you a question about Middle East, especially Israel and Palestinian conflict. Why is it that I'm now noticing that the Palestinian-Israeli conflict is getting underplayed, and why is it that it is not taking front and center? Because it is the issue which has haunted the Security Council forever. Why is it being underplayed, and why is it you're not giving it enough attention so that this issue can somehow be resolved? Because it seems this issue is now being dragged to nothing. It's not going to happen. Thank you.
In asking this question, I think you have already got your own answer. So I think there's no need for me to further on that. But I can tell you this month we'll have discussion on that issue. We'll have briefing on Middle East, focusing on Palestine on 19th. That'll be briefing, that'll be open to all the member states. And so in the morning of 19th, please come to listen to the ideas and opinions of the member states on that issue.
Thank you for joining us. Yeah, thank you, Ambassador Ma. So wish you have a very busy and happy month.